Joining us now from Studio A is Assistant Athletic Director and Director of Sports Psychology at the University of South Florida, Dr. Lee Dorpfeld. Dr. Lee, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, good morning, Maria. It's a pleasure to be with you and to have this opportunity to speak about a really important initiative that the conference has been putting on that's been a big help to our student athletes. So appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, inform some people about it, and continue the great initiative that we have.
Yeah, it's a fantastic initiative. That's the Powerful Minds campaign put on by the American Athletic Conference. And Dr. Lee, you've been around since the inception of it. So what have you seen and how have you seen it grow in the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think the idea initially was really exciting to see the idea of mental health coming kind of out of the gray and the black areas of not really being at the forefront of things, and recognizing that being a student athlete, as wonderful it is in so many ways, also comes along with some of the things in, like pressure and expectations and things like that that do affect our student athletes' mental health. And I think a lot of times what happens is, we assume that these people are superstars and rock stars and superheroes, and believe me, they are. But there's also things that go on behind the scenes that help and support them to allow them to do that. And I think what the initiative has done is kind of given us all a chance to talk about it, grow it, talk about it in different ways, and really work towards destigmatizing the issue of mental health among student athletes.
So when you say destigmatizing the issue of mental health among student athletes, what exactly does that look like, and what are you doing on your campus to help that cause?
Well, we've got a couple different things going. Obviously, we do unique programming around the topics that were given from the conference that they want to focus on a given year. We try to do a lot of things where we're able to integrate our teams and our student athletes, because a lot of times they're kind of isolated in their own teams and don't have an opportunity to get together around a lot of things. So a lot of our push is around having those opportunities for them to get together and participate in a series of activities. We do a lot of things around I guess the best way to say it, a little bit of psychoeducation, a little bit of outreach and prevention, a little bit of relaxation, and actually utilizing some of the tools and the skills that we give them. And then what we do, which I think is something that I'm probably most proud of, and we've done really successfully here, is we started a peer-to-peer group among our student athletes focused on both mental health and mental performance, called Building Better Bulls. And it's a peer-led student athlete group that meets together every 2 weeks to talk about issues that they're having in being a student athlete, or how to live the student athlete lifestyle, different things that are going on within their teams that they can get feedback from. We provide information around suicide prevention and awareness. So those student athletes get information related to how to reach out to your teammates, how to get student athletes help if they need it, how to have conversations, especially hard conversations, when you do have a teammate that's going through something. It's one of the things that's really kind of taken off in the last 2 years. The other thing that we do that I think is kind of unique that I'm also excited about is our student athletes are going out into the community and pairing with the high schools in the local county, but also pairing with some of the pro organizations around town to also get information out to the younger student athletes at the high school and youth levels about how important this is, and about how they can get help and get the support that they need to be successful both on and off the fields and the courts.
I love that. I just think those conversations that you're having with both the younger generation and then with your peers as well is so important. And, you mentioned it's something that you're most proud of. Why is that?
I think because what happens stereotypically in the student athlete milieu is, again, we're asked to be strong and tough all the time and be mentally tough and do all these superhero kind of things that we don't necessarily realize that takes a toll at times too. There's a lot of energy put out to be successful, to maintain that level of performance that we're asking from them. And I think what we've done really well here is in destigmatizing help-seeking behaviors, we've seen a very large increase in student athletes utilizing our services. And that's across a continuum. We kind of set our services up where it's a continuum of wellness, mental performance, and mental health. It allows us to provide kind of a menu, like if you were going to a restaurant, of different ways that they can connect with our office and get different kinds of supports for the different things that they need. And I think in destigmatizing it and kind of making it like I say, I kind of say it this way. It's like, if you don't make it weird, it's not weird. So where we're positioned within the building physically, which is among our student athlete enhancement unit, which is our student athlete development unit, and our academics unit, a lot of student athletes have the opportunity to have a lot of different touch points, and they see a lot of other student athletes and even coaches coming in and out of the offices. And though we will always provide confidentiality and privacy, it's still one of those things where it's like, when you start to get the vibe that other student athletes are doing it and benefiting, it makes it easier for new student athletes to reach out and see what we have to offer them.
Absolutely. It's like setting that precedent, and then you see the upperclassmen doing it when you come onto campus. So you just kind of continue that as it goes on. And, one thing, though, that you mentioned as well is these athletes are sometimes considered superheroes. And as you said, they are. But how do you work with student athletes to kind of balance that, hey, you have to push through and be tough, but also, you have to talk about things and you have to work on the mental side of your sport as well?
So kind of two answers to that. I'm going to split that question up a little bit. I'm not a big believer in mental toughness as a thing. I'm a bigger believer in mental flexibility. I believe all of us as human beings, not just our student athletes, are able to be strong and tough when we have to be. We've all been through at least one thing in our life that has been really hard, and we found ways to get through that. And I think that we're capable of handling the hard things. I think when we talk about flexibility, though, we're talking about the ability to be strong and tough when we have to, but also knowing how to put the gas back in the tank for the next time you have to be strong. That's something that I've been really educating our student athletes on, that trying really hard to just be strong all the time is ultimately going to lead to some form of downfall. We can't be going Mach 3 with our hair on fire all the time and not put that gas back in the tank. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is changing the language from trying to create a balance to trying to create a blend. It's never going to be a 50-50 balance in what we're trying to do and what they're trying to do and the goals they're trying to achieve. But I think when you learn how to blend your life together, I think that's more realistic, and it gives them a greater sense of control of their environment and the things that they can do than just trying to be on kind of the balance beam all the time.
So mental flexibility and then blending instead of balancing. I think I've learned something in the last 2 minutes. That is so helpful. I never thought about it like that. And so one more quick question for you, and it's more of, what advice would you give to student athletes to create that flexibility, to create that bend, and how do you kind of approach it when you're helping student athletes with these things?
Yeah, I kind of use a little bit of humor because I think that can be a really effective tool sometimes. So a lot of times when I'm trying to introduce these concepts, I'll talk about the difference between the way they were generally taught or coached in the past in terms of not having that or just trying to be that strong player all the time. I think the things that we have to do is we have to introduce them to tools just like we do in their sports. In sports, we teach different hitting things, different throwing things, different shooting things. We're always creating more opportunities for them to find ways to be successful. I think that translates off the field into the mental health space as well. As long as we're giving them a multitude of tools to choose from, they're going to pick and find the ones that work for them. So whether it's yoga or meditation or mindfulness practice, whether it's joining our Building Better Bulls group and getting support from other student athletes, whether it's reaching out with social questions, how to manage social media, how to manage their social life. When I think you make it easy for them to find an entry point, I think that's the way that you can enter that part of their environment and provide more skills. And then when you're able to transfer that to the field, where the skills that we're teaching them is just like coaching them on the field. We're here to make them better. We're going to teach them a multitude of different skills, and then they can go out and execute them and come back and get feedback. I think that model aligns really well with the student athletes because that's what they're doing on the field as well.
No, it makes so much sense. Dr. Lee, this has been so incredible. You have given us so much information, and I hope that everybody watching this, not just student athletes, but coaches, parents, players, just take some information away from it. Thank you so much for joining us here in Studio A.
No, I appreciate the opportunity again to be out here and speak on this topic. It's a really great initiative that the conference has. Student Athlete Mental Health Week countrywide is an awesome thing. All I can say is thank you guys for your support, and for our student athletes, both in our conference and out there. Get involved, see where you are on that mental wellness continuum, and don't be afraid to get the support that you need to be successful.